Hey, what's up? Hello, I hope you all are doing well. This book haul is going to be low-key and to the point because I have a number of new books to share with you, but I've also been rather ill for the past few days and my voice is not going to hold out much longer. So here are some books. I hope you enjoy them as much as I am looking forward to enjoying them. Let's get started. The first three books I have to share are sort of these larger, I don't want to say epic, but like larger epic feeling family sagas with folks who are traveling from other countries to the United States. The first of which is The Book of Unknown Americans by Cristina Enriquez. This is the story of two lovers and their families and a journey from Mexico to the US. I also have Middlesex by Jeffrey Eugenides, a book that I have been wanting to own for a very long time, but for some reason have never gotten around to it. I read The Marriage Plot by him and had him sign it actually when I met him at the National Book Festival a number of years ago. And this is a book, I believe, of a few generations of Greek American folks that are coming from Greece to the United States. So I'm looking forward to reading this as well. And lastly is The Sleepwalker's Guide to Dancing by Mira Jacob. And this takes place in the 1970s and 1980s during the dot-com boom across in both, I believe it's Seattle, I'm gonna double check. It is Seattle, I'm correct, and New Mexico as well as India. And so altogether, these are sort of, like I said, three family-rich stories of traveling and understanding and that saga literary fiction feeling of them. This type of story can be really fascinating. I have my eye on these for potential book club books for my book club, and I'm excited to get to these over the course of this year. If you recognized any of those books from Beck's Unhaul that she posted earlier this year, you would be correct. She did give a lot of the books that she was getting rid of to me because they are far more things that would interest me than her, and that includes her copy, an annotated copy of John Irving's A Prayer for Owen Meany. I love this cover. I think we've talked about this cover in previous videos, and I think it's a really good depiction of actually the entire plot. I have read this book many times. I'm looking forward to reading this with all of her high school annotations in it, but mostly I'm looking forward to not having to look at John Irving's face on my own copy, which is also hardcover and much heavier every time I go to read this book. This is really one of the only books that I can pick up as many times at wherever place I am in it and just be able to understand right where I left off with no break in the story. I don't have to do any rereading. I don't know why that is, but I can pick up and put down this book as many times as possible and will always know what's going on. The last books that I got from Rebecca are her large box set of Bronte books by Anne, Emily, and Charlotte Bronte. These, as she mentioned, are a relatively inexpensive version that she bought because she had read Jane Eyre and wanted to read some of the other Bronte sisters' work. I too have only read Jane Eyre, but recently have been listening to a lot of criticism and review and unpacking of Wuthering Heights, and so I'm keen to finally have a copy of it, having gotten rid of my copy of it actually several years ago because it had the most hideous cover and I was not interested in reading it and the book was starting to fall apart. I very well could have gone and gotten a copy from the library, but having this in this collection is just very exciting. I too will probably one day pass this box set on to someone else, but in the meantime, now I have all of them reminding me on my shelf, glaring at me to tell me I need to read them. And lastly are the two most beautiful books that I have acquired recently, the first of which was given to me by Rebecca's sister. I got this over Christmas, and this is something I'd never buy for myself, but it is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, the Illustrated Edition. Like I said, I had never really set out to purchase this and had only really ever seen pictures of it before, but the illustrations just add so much to the story, and I've sort of spent some time perusing this in the last few weeks and days, and I didn't really realize how much I was going to like it until I had a copy. So here it is. It's beautiful. I'm very excited to just have this around to look back at instead of reading the copy that I already have, which is indeed falling apart. So I'm very excited to have this for when I do want to return to this text and see what reading it with the illustrations really does to change the experience. And this last book that I have for you today is really exciting, if only because one, it's a book that I love and I talk about trying to not buy multiple copies of pretty much all the time, but I was also just speaking about the Puffin in Bloom editions of books on this channel in a previous video. And it's very exciting that the folks at Penguin Teen have sent me this beautiful copy, which I have put down every time I've ever seen it in a bookstore, of Louisa May Alcott's Little Women. It's absolutely gorgeous. I never thought that I would own it. I never thought that I would ever buy it for myself, and yet here it is somehow from them very kindly. And I am so excited to read it because I have not read Little Women in a very long time, and it's just, it's a very large edition because it's quite small. It's a small book, and so it fills up quickly when you put the pages that small. Again, I think I've said 3 times already, it's beautiful. It's just absolutely gorgeous. The movie, the Greta Gerwig adaptation of Little Women, did just come out. Bex and I saw it together and we both really enjoyed it. There was a considerable amount of crying. I have loved the story of Little Women for quite a long time and really enjoyed that film, and also have harbored a considerable number of feelings around the Jo and Laurie situation. It's not because I don't like Amy, it's not because I really wanted to see them together, it's just all I know is that in the notes from the author of my very first edition of Little Women, Louisa May Alcott writes, "I won't marry Jo to Laurie to please anyone." And let me tell you, Louisa May, that's very clear. It's very, very clear. However, to rectify that situation, for those of us that still can't seem to let the fact that that match didn't happen go, they, being Penguin Teen, are publishing a book called Jo and Laurie by Margaret Stohl and Melissa de la Cruz, which apparently comes out later this year on June 2nd, which is very exciting. This nice little card came with this book for me, and I will be very excited to read that. The story, the greatest love story finally told, could not have put it better. So that may be to say the ending that all of us wanted, even though it never would have worked out and probably would have been a real problem, just like Jo explains to him, except that even though she's right, you still want it to be different. Except that this is shorter and fits a lot better on materials. So good job. Let's go with this tagline. The greatest love story finally told. So that being said, 11 books in total. I am going to go rest my voice. If you have read any of these books, which I'm guessing that folks have, I know The Sleepwalker's Guide to Dancing is kind of popular right now, so if you have read that, please let me know in the comments. The Book of Unknown Americans will probably make an appearance in my book club later this year, so you'll hear me talk about that. If there are any fans of A Prayer for Owen Meany, one of my favorite books of all time, if not my favorite book of all time, although I do hate to pick favorites, please let me know that too. And if you've read any of the Bronte books that are outside of the extremely popular ones, Jane Eyre and Wuthering Heights, let's talk about that as well. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having lovely weeks and lovely lives. Everything that you want to know about us is, of course, in the description. Thanks again to Penguin Teen for sending me Little Women, and we'll see you very soon. Oh, it's just so beautiful. I don't want to put it down.